What difference, what great difference did you see from when you were away quite a while? What was the biggest difference?
Well, transportation, I guess. When I left in the wintertime, as soon as the snow come, we took the team everywhere. When I come back, well, they picked me up with a car in January. That was something unusual. Must have been wasn't too much snow. But after the second winter, they had the road and team plow the roads open. They kept them open pretty good. And then the hydro come in. The summer of '47 or fall of '47 got hydro, and there was hardly anybody using horses. When I left in '42, well, they were still thrashing. And when I come back, everybody had a combine. There was the odd one was still thrashing. It changed that much in four years.
Did it seem to you as if, well, geez, everybody must have been making money hand over fist while I was over there? Or did it just seem like it was a natural progression, a natural
just
change?
Natural. I knew how much they were making. Maybe the fellow wasn't farming. Figured they were making pretty.
Like, I often thought the reason that the roads were plowed more was because the bus was about the only transportation that the guys had to come home on leave.
Yeah.
You know, that was another thing, that bus line made money because of the guys that were coming home on leave every weekend, and the people that were working in the war munitions in Winnipeg and such like.
Then the small schools started shutting down too.
Yeah.
Well, like Deerwood shut down shortly after, within 5 years.
Well, before our kids started, thank goodness.
And
the kind of teachers they
everything went head pretty fast.
Because I was considering if they'd kept that little dump open with the teachers that we had, I was going to teach Gordon at home before I'd have sent him up there. So, okay, now, when you joined up, how many leaves did you say you had home? You went?
148 hours.
And that's when I saw you.
Yeah, from Portage. That was in January of '42, I guess.
And I asked who you were.
And then.
Little did I know. I never forget that.
From Portage, that's basic training. And then we went to Red Deer, Alberta, for what they call advanced training. How long we were up there? Till we went overseas again.
And you had in the hospital in Red
Deer? Yeah, I had measles when I was up at Red Deer. I was sick too.
Red
measles. And then.
You were supposed to go overseas in a draft, and you missed it because of that?
No, that draft was. I stayed on it. They figured I was a trained troop, I guess.
So what happened? Did they pull out and then you caught up to them, or what?
No, the draft didn't leave, so I was out of the hospital a week. I was 2 weeks in the hospital, or 10 days. I missed a lot of training, but they said that didn't matter.
Oh, you could try. You knew how to hold on to your steering wheel.
So we went from Red Deer all the way across to Halifax. Got on the old SS Banfora. It took us 9 days to get to.
Now you walked off Banfora?
Oh yeah, we'd get fed on the train about daylight, I guess, or 7 or 8, and there was nothing to eat on the ship. By supper time, we were getting hungry, so they started lined up and marched off onto the docks. Everybody's yelling, "Get back there!" We kept on going. I don't think I had anything to eat. I mailed a couple of letters and got back on board.
I wondered why old Heinz brought that up in his discussion about civics and all this sort of stuff when
it come out.
I was in grade 9.
That we didn't want to go overseas. That was a lot of horseshit. We were just hungry.
I know. I wonder if he was on that draft.
I don't know.
Because when we were in high school, and he was only there the 1 year, I think, or maybe 2.
Well, we got on. We went back on board. Some of the guys didn't come. They stayed in town all night.
Probably got drunk.
And some of them missed the draft. There were about 50 of them. And they brought some out. They moved the ship out into the basin, and they brought some out the next day.
On a little.
Yeah, on a ferry. I was with an older fellow, Patterson from Alberta, old Scotch fellow. He'd missed the draft.
So what was your trip like across on the cattle?
It was rough.
You mean the ocean was rough, or the
The
conditions?
ocean was rough, and there was no grub to speak of, and we slept, Patterson and I slept underneath a little place they had built up where they put all the hammocks and stuff. We, the two, was in there, and he got seasick. I thought he was going to die. He never ate the whole time. I got bread into him about the third and fourth day. And the toilets, what there was, they plugged up, overflowed.
That'd be enough. You were seasick.
It took us 9 days.
So where?
Had
Was there any scares with subs or anything like that? Did you see?
not scared, but they seen them dropping depth charges. We figured they were just trying to get some fish for breakfast.
How big was the convoy?
I don't know how many ships there were. There was a big convoy. And they didn't have enough lifeboats. And our section, we were assigned a raft. It was 18 inches deep, I guess. I figured we would have lasted maybe a day in it.
Oh boy.
And cold, we'd go, and there'd be grates over top of the engine room. There'd be the heat coming up from the engine room, and these grates would be over 10 feet square, and they'd just be crowded with guys standing and sitting. And I wasn't feeling too good. Just after having measles, and then I got a cold. And I'd get a corner in this grate and I'd sit there all day.
But that wouldn't be good for you either, though.
No, it was warm anyway.
Yeah, but then you'd have to go and crawl in a cold bunk kind of place.
The last couple of days it started to warm up a little bit. I guess it was getting close. But I was sure glad to see the little bit of water or land sticking out of the water.
Where did you dock?
Greenock, Scotland.
Greenock, Scotland, got it.
Greenock.
What year? What time of the year?
I think it was the 19th of April, 42. It took us 19 days from Red Deer till Greenock.
Oh, Lord.
And we hadn't had our clothes off or anything.
For 19 days?
No.
No wash?
Oh, you could have a wash on the train. You could have a wash on board ship. They'd have the fresh water on once a day, and we used to wash. But I never had my change. I think our issue socks, 3 pair of socks, everything was clean when I left. And then when I got over there, it was. It says here, 31st of March, 42, left Red Deer, headed east. 19th of April, 42, landed at Greenock, Scotland, and went to Aldershot. And got on the train and rattled our way down to near Aldershot. Got there dark. Or someplace, and the trucks picked us up, army trucks, and they got lost. And we didn't go to Aldershot, we went to Fort Garry Horse Reserve Unit at Blackdown.
That's where they ended up when they got lost.
Well, that's where we were supposed to
go.
We stayed there from about a week, I guess. Then we went into Aldershot, and I was there till 14th of June. Then.
Do you think those barracks had changed anything since the First World War?
No, they were built when the Crimea War was on.
That they're still...
It wasn't bad because it was in the spring of the year. It was nice and warm.
Were there flowers all over the place?
Yeah, everything was blooming. And I don't know how many there was. It was supposed to be Hull Petrol and Ammunition, or reinforcement for the Petrol and Ammunition Company. And then in Aldershot, the three of us, McNelly, a fellow by the name of Patterson, a first div guy.
Same one that was so sick?
No,
Oh, another
no,
Patterson.
different guy. Both same name. We were shipped out to the 24th Field Ambulance,
Oh,
and I had no idea what we were supposed to do. We went to.
well, when you were in the 24th, then was that when you were almost got in on DF?
No, that's from the holding unit. See, they were making the drafts out to go to,
Different places.
and me and two other guys, I don't know who they were supposed to go to this other field ambulance, second div. And they were the ones that was in DF. And somehow they got changed, switched us. I don't know how
I thought
they
you
did
said
it.
one fella came and asked if you would
Yeah.
switch with him
They'd come,
because he wanted to go with a friend or a
something
brother or
like that.
something.
It didn't matter a damn to me because I didn't. The McGuire and the guys I had been with, they were getting shipped out somewhere else.
McGuire up west here?
Yeah, Elvin.
Mm-hmm.
Jones, they were shipped out to Service Corps unit. So I was just left on my own. I knew McNelly just by name to see him, that's about all. He was in a different company.
And that's the BC now.
Yeah, he was the one, him and I and this Patterson. Somehow they switched anyway. Instead of going to the second div, we went to the fifth div. In which we were supposed to be reinforcements for the fifth div to start with.
Oh, I see.
So then, the 24th, was it a station wagon picked us up. I think the fellow who drove the station wagon then, the name was Potter. He was American. And there was an officer, I think it was a quartermaster officer. They were picking up supplies. Of course, the last on the list was pick up three fellows at such and such a spot. We'd been there all day. Nothing to eat or anything. Jesus. Sitting propped up against a building with their feet sticking out, and about every 15 minutes somebody come along, what are you guys doing here? We're waiting for a draft. Oh.
Hurry up and go slow, eh?
Anyway, it gets to the 24th, after supper. Drysdale, sergeant then, he met us. He was Service Corps. Looks at our kit bags and numbers. McNelly was from BC, he had a K number. Patterson was Alberta, had M, and me, Manitoba, had H. Oh, what part of Manitoba? Southern. Whereabouts? Miami. Oh, I used to work at Darlingford, he said. Anyway, they got us.
Did he ever say who?
No, never did.
You never asked.
It was in thrashing time.
Yeah.
He worked at Darlingford. So. But anyway, got a place to sleep. It was in a barn where we slept up in the loft.
Where was this?
In
Kent or
yeah,
Horsham, Maresfield?
Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Yeah, no, it's not too far from Aldershot, I imagine an hour or so.
So it's not Kingsley, it's Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Yeah.
And
Well, that'd be a good place to sleep in the barn.
yeah. Remember, he took us up to the kitchen and gave us something to eat. Old Grizzly. Next morning, Service Corps parade and Medico were different. They didn't. Medico were in huts and we were in this old barn in the house. We weren't mixed at all. And the Cokie Joe was new to the outfit and he mixed us all up about 10 days after I got there. Oh, there
But
was
you
a
didn't like him, eh?
big sting. It didn't matter a damn to me because I didn't know anybody in it. And the first guy, remember on the parade, these three new fellows, there you go. They were going to do maintenance on vehicles. And Big Sketchley, I was supposed to go with him. So we were driving somewhere. I just admit, he says, hey, you see that truck I racked up the other day? I figure, holy Jesus. Then I'm down. I had some snuff from home. In the afternoon, I'd pull this out, and first thing this redheaded guy says, "Is that some stuff you got?" I was riddled out. That's
How long had you been chewing snooze before you went overseas?
Oh, a couple of years, I
Who
guess.
introduced you to it?
Jack Wilson. George Harrison. Didn't chew it regularly. That was in Kingsley the 24th, and I was there maybe 2 weeks, and they gave me an ambulance to drive, an old Austin ambulance. Doc Manzik was driving it, and he'd gone on leave, and there was a scheme coming up. So they give me this ambulance, go out on a scheme with it. And before Doc got back, they got some new ambulance in, I think 6 of them or 4 of them. And they gave Doc one of the new ones and let me keep this old Austin. I had it for 9 months, I guess.
All in the same place at Kingsley?
No, from Kingsley, we moved to Brighton on August 8th. Moved down to the Brighton and Hove.
Everybody figured you were heading over.
No, we just knew we were moving to a new camp. We were right along the waterfront. And about all the Service Corps did there was on guard. We had a certain area of the waterfront to patrol. And after dark, anybody moving, you had to stop them and ask for identification. Go off. Halt, who goes there? You'd say friend. Advance friend and be recognized. Jeez. Anyway, we were there till September. We had some air raids too. The fighter planes would come skimming over the water, especially just about sundown, flying into the sun.
German?
Yeah, they'd come on and then zoom up over the land, and they'd drop a couple of bombs. They're trying to get the gas works. It was down the beach about half a mile, I guess. And we did out training schemes. Old Cokie Joe was making a unit out of us. He did too. And then Dieppe raid come on. We were down there. They took all the ambulance. I wasn't on it. I must have been doing guard duty. I don't know who took my ambulance, but all the ambulance went down to wherever the bunch come in. It was Southampton or one of the docks, picking all these guys up that come back from Dieppe. That's the first we knew about Dieppe.
Mm-hmm.
RB was on it, Homer on it.
They weren't in Dieppe. They were
just down
bringing
to down back. And I remember there was hardly anybody left in the unit. Then we had a pretty good time there. They kept us busy though. There was a naval barracks just down there, right on the water. On what they call a promenade was built out on the water. They had that, and boy, were they spit and polish. You'd be standing on guard, and a bunch of navies would be marching up, and there'd be eyes right to the guard, and all. And
they had the best discipline as far as, I think, Red Square and what have you.
Fayette was on guard he was private then too, medical corps. He used to have a service corps, because he had a rifle, the medical corps on guard together. They had 12 guards or something. And this sailor come along, was lost, and pretty well canned. Didn't know how he got to Brighton. He got a ride, and he thought he was going somewhere, and they ended up in Brighton. He didn't know where he was, so we took him. Said, well, we'll take you down to the naval barracks. God, we went down there, and boy, they halted us, and we stopped, and there's 2 Navy guys with bayonets sticking in their belly. And we had to stand there and wait until they got the corporal or whatever they call the Navy corporal out and turned this fellow over to him. I don't know what they do to him. He was off a ship, so I think maybe they just put him back.
Was he Canadian, no?
No, he was in Limey.
Oh, in Limey?
Yeah, he was completely lost. Didn't know where the hell he was. So we turned him over to them.
I bet he was in the rig for a day or two, that one.
And then We moved up to Houghton Hall,
Which is
Leeswood.
way up. Houghton Hall,
No, not Houghton Hall was up north. We
Yeah.
moved to Leeswood.
Leeswood, yeah.
Yeah, that was near Groombridge.
Uh-huh, that was really
We stayed there all winter.
in the Duchess's estate. Wasn't she a countess or a German?
Countess.
Russian
Leeswood Manor, Russian Countess. I spent Christmas of '42 on guard. And then they picked some of us out and put us through the 5th Div was starting up the 5th Div assault school. And they picked from our outfit 8 or 10. There was Big Bill Carson, me, Bergie. I think there was 2 service corps and rest medical guys. We trained, old Cokie Joe had got the training manual, and he put us through 10 days on our own. God, we were in good shape.
Did you climb the cliffs there?
Yeah, we had ropes to climb up, and we did a forced march. 12 miles in 2 hours and 20 minutes. God, we was moving. We were in good shape. Then we go to the salt school.
Where was it?
It was Airridge Station,
Yeah.
just not too far from Leeswood. And we didn't have to go through the course at all. We just was looking after the sick parade, and I had the ambulance if anybody was hurt.
You took in Marysville? Is that where your base hospital was?
No, we took them back to our headquarters, and I only remember taking one guy back. The sniper that hit him in the heel. He's crawling down the...
You mean our own training?
Yeah, they'd fire live ammunition.
Yeah.
They had them crawling down the side of on a slope. The snipers were shooting at their heel, and they got too close.
Or he was too slow.
I was there for about 2 weeks, I guess.
Well, what was the big hospital at Marysfield then? Was that for the whole unit, or was?
Yeah, that was. We had our own headquarters. I don't know if they had beds in our headquarters. They had an inspection MIR in our headquarters.
And that was at
Leeswood.
At Leeswood, yeah.
You brought anybody in, like they just checked them out there, then sent them down to there. They were running the hospital at Marysville. That's right. Yeah. That was at it when the Spartan scheme was on. I wanted to go on the scheme, but no, I had to stay behind with the ambulance. McKinnon was my orderly, and look after all the sick parades of all these units all the way around.
Tell about the flowers.
Oh yeah, Leeswood to the town was about a mile and a half. Groombridge was the town. Had 3 pubs in it. And we'd walk down, and halfway down there's a graveyard. And we'd gone down, we'd get Saturday afternoon off. You didn't have to have a pass as long as you was back in by 11 o'clock at night, I think it was. And we'd go, if we had any money, we'd go down to the pub. And we're coming back this night. And there'd been a funeral. There's a whole bunch of flowers on the grave. This grave, we could see them in the moonlight, so we pick them up.
Whose idea?
Oh, Smithhurst. So we takes all the flowers up, decorated the sergeant's quarters, and never got to the officer. We ran out of flowers before we got to the officers. I thank the Lord for that. Sunday morning, in comes the orderly sergeant. I think it was Wormley. He seemed to know who brought the flowers.
I can imagine, he probably did.
So we take them, and I wasn't in on the actually bringing them up because I'd got sick before And anyway, we take some all back down next morning, Sunday morning, and some old lady across the road saw the Canadians putting flowers on this grave early Sunday morning. Come out in the local paper with the Canadians. Geez, we ever feel cheap about that.
And don't forget Coke's Jeep.
Oh yeah, another night we're coming home. Cokey Joe, the Colonel Coke, he used to go down visiting to some old retired colonel and his daughter. So I don't know whether she'd married or a spinster, but anyway, old Cokey, he'd drive down himself. He wasn't supposed to do that, but he'd drive down and leave his Jeep parked in the laneway of this big estate. It was in trees all the way around. You could just barely make out the house. It was a big, great big house. But anyway, we're coming back and here's Cokey Joe's Jeep. So a couple of us get in behind it and start pushing, and it rolls down the hill, and we take her down and take her into a pasture, park her behind the hedge.
The gate.
Yeah, through this wooden gate. And then we all report in at the guard room, and they didn't go all in at once. Some was in about 10:30, and some about 20 minutes to 11, and at 2 at 11 o'clock. So,
Where did you wait for this?
well, down the road.
Like a bunch of kids.
Sunday morning, their parade, first parade. I guess old Cokey Joe come walking in sometime about 4 in the morning. The guard, all. There has been a prank. My Jeep is missing.
He never did find it?
Yeah, they had the DRs.
No, but he didn't.
No, we had it tucked in. Pinky was on the lookout for it.
That's
He
good.
had his bike and he roared up and down for about an hour, and then he happened to find it. He saw some tracks in there. Found your Jeep, sir.
I don't think old Coke was fooled 1 minute, do you?
No, he knew who had done it. And we didn't hurt the Jeep or anything, but he said it was just a prank. There will be nothing about it. Well, he couldn't do anything about it because he wasn't supposed to have it. He hadn't signed out or anything. Oh, yeah. And then there's past the graveyard, there's a sharp corner and a steep hill, and there's a big sign. Steep hill, go slow, blow your horn. About the second day we were there, sign ended up at the Blazewood.
Somebody liberated a sign.
Yeah, it was a pretty good town. We had a Christmas party for all the kids, concert for them, and then we had our own little concert. We wouldn't allow any kids there, just the civilians.
Was it a pretty good one?
Yeah, they had a skit on Big Bill Carson played Cokey Joe, and Bobby Patton played Little Johnny G, the RSM. They were court-martialing somebody, and old Cokey Joe, all right, what did this lad do? And after it was all over, old Cokey Joe got up and said he thanked them for their entertainment, and he says, who was it said, see yourselves as others see you?
And you said you remembered being with Sketchley, and
Mm-hmm.
then the next one, where did you sleep that night? Like, what was the...
Well, there was a little barn there, and there's McNelly and I and another fellow sleeping up on the loft floor of the barn. And then shortly after that, they mixed us all up, Service Corps and Medical, and I went up to the Neeson huts where the medics was.
Were you the only service corps up there?
That's the only one I remember in that hut, and there was Cotonou and Schneider and Berge. Oh, I don't know, a whole bunch of the medical guys.
And you were in with them?
Yeah.
And how long did that stay?
That stayed till we moved out of there and went to Brighton.
So then, who did you drive with then?
Well, after about a week after I come, old Doc Mansley went on leave. Scheme come up, and I took over Doc's Austin ambulance. And before he got back, they got, I think, 4 new Ford ambulance, and they gave Doc one of the new ones, and I kept his old Austin.
And who was with you in the ambulance?
Oh, a lot of the times it was, I can't remember, well, I remember Butch Gillette one time on the Scheme. He was orderly, and Stewie Lau, McKinnon, Boots McKinnon,
Mm-hmm.
and Oh, I forget now.
So then when you'd have your ambulance and they'd be your orderly, who else was driving that you'd be on scheme with that you got to?
No, all the rest of the drivers are all out.
And did you know any of them before
No.
this?
Never knew anybody in the 24th.
Now, when do you remember, what's the thing you remember most about running into Red, the other driver?
Yeah, running red. I think the first morning I was there on parade. I got, just before I left the holding unit, parcel from Wardy and Muriel, I guess, and he sent over 2 cans of snuff. And I loaded up in snuff, and Red saw me.
Saw you loading up?
And he come over after they broke us off. Who'd you get the stuff? Said, I always remembered him because he was a red-headed fellow.
Okay, so that's how you first met Red.
Yeah, and
Over at Tennis Now then, the next driver that you probably met was at that